agenda?
I can hear it. I'm sitting right in front of it.
Well, there's a volume control right there. It's on the
It's up as high as it goes.
As high as it goes? How's that?
There you go.
Welcome, folks, to the first of the summer meetings. Glad that you braved the rain and came out to be with us. And we have a full, fun day planned, some business and some fun as well. My name is Pam Dugan. Along with your board, we're glad that you're here. And without further ado, we will have the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Are there any corrections, deletions, comments?
I'll move we approve the minutes of last month.
It's been moved. May I have a second? That we approve? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We approve the May 20th, 2015 board meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Lance?
Thank you. Basically, I'm passing out spreadsheet basically showing the income and revenues for this month of May. As you mentioned, I think overall we had a very, very good month income-wise. Watercraft permits are up substantially at $14,779. Obviously, launch fees correspond to that, so we earned some income there. So income-wise, we did very, very well in the month at $21,000. Again, as you can imagine, salaries and stuff started increasing in the month of May. So we're up to about $15,000 in salaries there. Dredging, gatehouse, stuff like that is coming into the fold. And basically the only other thing that really kind of shows up of note for the month of May, we do have basically a $9,400 charge for building and maintenance. That's actually all the renovations that did take place in the main office there. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, go ahead and take a look at it. It does look pretty nice now. So that being said, basically, we did finish the month a little bit in the black. So we did show an income of $22,000. So that was basically just based off of operating revenues. Obviously, our tax assessments and such should be coming in this month, so that'd be a big boost going forward. Again, that's going to reflect overall on the checking and savings accounts. We're still maintaining pretty healthy balances. We do have $221,000 in the checking account. Again, part of that was conversion of $100,000 worth of CDs, but we're still maintaining general fund CDs of $116,000 on cumulative maintenance is still at $78,000. And currently, as it stands right now, we don't have really any debt. So overall, balance sheet-wise, looking pretty strong there. Didn't know if there's any questions or comments in regards to this report.
One question on the dredging riprap income. How's that going this year so far?
I would have to defer Adam to you.
We have we spent our entire budget. We did 7 private jobs, and we totaled 1,120 foot of shoreline. So all our operation budget is done for the private riprapping, and it's all taken up by private, which is very nice. So it's good to see the enthusiasm and the effort coming in from the freeholders. So yeah, over 1,100 feet of shoreline riprap this year.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's report? With that, if I could have a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make that motion, Lance.
And second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Also, before you today is basically the report of the claims approval for May of 2015. Total claim vouchers at $17,922.72. As mentioned, a big chunk of that was the renovations regarding the office for BK Construction. Is there any other questions in regards to the vouchers as presented? And if I could have a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, the next item basically, on the Treasurer's report today is the introduction of the 2016 budget that was basically presented, in your packet. Again, the main purpose today is just to kind of get the budget out for review, and I'll just kind of go over some of the highlights in terms of some of the changes that are being proposed. But obviously, the next month, couple months, be subject to open forum, that will be where a lot of the discussion and such takes place. But overall, for 2016, we're looking at a total budget of about $477,150. Really, the two main changes on the revenue side is we're looking at park admissions fees. Currently, we charge $5 per car. We're looking at increasing that to $7 per car. And that's still in correspondence to kind of what the state does at their parks. So we did do a slight increase there. And then we also did increase just the fees for the finishing tournaments. This year we've been pretty overloaded. Got quite a few tournaments coming in. So we just did double the fee on that one.
How much?
On the fishing tournaments, the actual fee itself. Everything else on, and that is from $25 to $50 for each tournament that takes place. Everything else on the revenue side remains the same. Basically, all the watercraft permit fee structure is going to remain the same. Our tax assessment levy, will remain the same. So no real changes there. On the payroll side, on salary and wages, obviously that's our biggest expense item, total overall. We are looking at just doing, standard cost of living increases for the gate park attendants and dredgers and things of that nature as noted. Again, we'll kind of use that as needed. The newer, gate attendants will probably charge a larger or smaller per hour wage than, the more senior ones. But overall, the big thing I think on salary and wages is that dredging, we're looking at the same amount of hours there, so that projects out accordingly. And then the real big change is basically we are going to create an operations basically manager position and convert the biologist position from kind of a part-time to a full-time position as noted in line item 601. Outside of that, basically the rest of the expenses are basically in coordination with what they have been historically. No real major changes there. We did have to put out a couple of repair items. Still have some dam repairs that we need, so we've got about $10,000 allocated for that. We also are allocated about $8,000 for the purchase of a new outboard motor for the pontoon boat. I think we're running out of duct tape on that one, so we're just kind of allocating a little bit of funds for that as needed. But everything else basically on the, in returns of the expenses remain the same, as before. So overall, from a budget standpoint, we are budgeting, a loss of about $44,000 for the year. But if you look back historically, that's, basically well within the realm that we have done. And we've always ended up, on the positive side of that by controlling our costs. But that is the budget as presented. Again, it will be open for discussion next time around.
Are you here for questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I might just interject. If you need a microphone, there is another one. We're not the only ones that have one. So if you would prefer to
I don't
speak,
think I need a microphone.
Okay.
I think my voice is fairly loud.
Okay, just offering it if you need it. Anybody's welcome.
Well, that's because I have a hearing problem, so I tend to talk louder.
What'd you say?
But anyway, I have a question about under wages and what have you. I don't have any qualms about the wages and what have you, but I was wondering, is the operations manager, I don't have my glasses, are they going to have insurance and perf as well?
Yes. As part of going to full-time, they would become eligible for that.
Say that, I'm sorry.
Yes, they would be eligible for those benefits.
Okay.
And that's included in that budget.
Okay, and then my next question, you might have said it and I didn't hear it, but the budget, $655,000, the revenue is $655,000, and you're budgeting $477,000?
Yes.
As I said, I don't have my glasses, I'm sorry, I forgot them. that's 15, oh, okay. How come the difference in,
If you recall,
$1,000 less,
yeah,
that's my question.
this year we allocated the expense for the purchase of the small barge. So that's that $200,000 difference in revenues this year. The way the state budgeting works, even though, if we spend it, we have to allocate for it. So we have to show the revenue coming in terms of the loan proceeds for the barge. In addition, we show the expense, of those proceeds going out for the purchase of the smaller barge. So that's what you're seeing occurring in 2015. Now, 2016, we're under the assumption that that barge would have already been purchased.
I'm sorry.
Under 2016, we're assuming that that barge will be purchased.
Will be purchased.
Yes.
But
So no need to budget.
Don't you have to show that $200,000? I'm just using round figures.
Not for 2016, because we're still projecting it's going to occur this year. Yeah. Good question. Yes.
I have a question. The debris removal, the last couple of years, you had $12,000, which is pretty appropriate. This year, we have $500. Thanks to Levi, we're able to do a lot less expensive. It would be more than $500 just for one part, let alone the rest of the labor.
That could be a good point.
The other thing too is it says actual spent in 2014 was $12. I really disagree with that figure.
It's because we've been charging it to a different line item.
I'm sorry, James.
We're charging it to a different account. That's why we brought it down, because I've been charging it basically to equipment rental, and that's where most of it goes now, is equipment rental.
Oh, okay.
So it's just kind of, we moved it around in the budget just because I wasn't taking it out of that account.
What item are you talking about? This half group can't hear you.
Couldn't hear what.
There was a question on debris removal. Of course, we go out and do a lot of debris removal each year, and Dave just noted that, it looks like we're budgeting a lot less. Reality is, we're still going to do it. It's just coming out in different line items, but it's still kind of built into the budget. Any other questions? Please feel free to kind of review it, kind of go over it. I know there's a lot of detail and stuff in the budget. Obviously, we got the next 2 months to kind of review it and answer any questions and make revisions. Certainly my email's out there and such, and my phone's out there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to call me and answer them as well. So with that, I'm finished with my report. Thank you.
Just one thing, Hans, could you let the audience know when it's going to be advertised, because it closes the discussion.
Yeah, basically, John asked a good question of when the budget's going to be advertised, because once that occurs, the budget's basically set in stone. Basically, for the next 2 board meetings, both in July and August, that will be open discussion, and then we would have the advertisement in pretty much beginning of September. So once we go in and basically have the forum for a September board meeting, it's just kind of it's done at that time. There would be no further discussion. Thanks, John, for that question.
One thing I might suggest, this room, as much as I love the summer meetings, the acoustics are terrible. And it's difficult when any side conversations are occurring to kind of hear. I really would encourage any of you, when you would care to ask something or speak, please avail yourselves of the microphone so that everybody over there can hear everybody over there and we can all hear you. It makes a big difference. I know it's a little uncomfortable, but I would really strongly urge you to do that.
And for the people here that, like me, that don't remember names, I would love for you guys to introduce yourself when you stand up. I'm still putting faces to names, and I'm a little slow with that, so thank you.
And Sue and I did not plan our wardrobe today.
We're united.
Next is our manager's report. Adam, do you need a microphone? I think maybe not.
I don't think so.
This guy's got a big voice. Love it.
All right, the manager's report. This is my first annual meeting. Thanks for welcoming me in with kind hearts and kind words. It's been about 3.5 months now and hit the ground running. We've, the small barge purchase has kind of been the big ticket item since I've come on. We've been going through a few different avenues. Most recently, we put out a request for proposals. Since it's not a one-size-fits-all type of equipment, we're looking at different companies to design the barge. We put out a request for proposals that were due on the 16th, last Wednesday. On 5 o'clock, we had a meeting, an executive session, to kind of go over the proposals that we received on Thursday. I was hopeful we'd have a couple more in from different companies. There seemed to be 3 or so different companies that were interested in building the barge. Turns out we got one request for proposal. We reviewed it. It is a viable option. It looked good. We left the meeting discussing it, and we are going to go back and we're going to look at the builder, look at the design, and we're going to investigate this further. We do have a guy who wants to build a barge, so that is great. We have to have some meetings with him now to kind of tweak the design exactly how I want it, and that's the beauty with the request for proposals. You can have meetings, you can go over different designs, you can get it to fit how you want. So that is where we are with the request for proposal. We'll be contacting him again, looking at their current operation and talking to people that he's worked with before, so we can assess the eligibility of him to build a barge. So we're moving forward with that. We got one in. I'm glad that we have somebody who's interested in building a barge. So we're going to pursue this and see how it goes. Professional services agreement. We just got the proposal in. We still need to meet, negotiate the contract terms, and get the exact barge design down. So there was no proposal or professional service agreement at this meeting. We will have to draft that up after talking with the submitter of the proposal. So that will be at the July meeting after we've met with them and gone over everything. So we're moving forward. There's people out there who want to build barges. We're looking good. Barge operations update. Debris removal is done. We've cleared out the historical areas on the east side of the lake. And down at Dave Hobson's house, we did a couple other big trees off the lake proper. Quite a bit of debris came out. We finished that up last week. Private rip wrapping. We spent our whole budget on rip wrapping on private. I was so happy to see everybody willing to pay money, come in, gets it done at the cheaper cost for us, gets more on the ground. 1,120 feet got rip wrapped. We finished that up last week. The dredging, we have not started digging yet. We're hoping this week that we'd be digging. It wasn't an ideal week to be out with heavy equipment on the water, so we should start at the beginning of next week. We'll actually be digging. We do have, last month, after we set the dredging priorities, or when we set the dredging priorities, we said that we will revisit them at this meeting. I have had some concerns from different board members about doing 208 first, as it is a 5 to 6 foot of water now, and we think there may be other better ways to dig out that area. So I'm going to open that up for discussion regarding the board and their decisions if they want to keep that or if they want to move it around. When we had the original dredging study group meeting, we said we'd start off on John Young Road area, finish those guys out, and then finish the budget off on 208 since it is a huge area. So is there any discussion from the committee about the dredging priorities?
Is Levi still here?
Yes, Levi is here.
Let me let him give a thought at first.
Where's 208?
208 is the boating safety area, kind of just northwest of the islands there.
Yeah, it's a sandbar area.
My opinion, I was asked about my opinion on dredging 208. In my opinion, from the operations standpoint, it's digging that from a boat is a really bad idea. It's original ground, it's hard. It can be done, we have done it before. It's really hard on the equipment, it's a really slow process. I think if we was to address that issue, the time to do that would be in the drawdown. We can take the excavator, drive right out there. We can take tractor trucks. We can knock that out, in 3 days to a week instead of spending 3 months on it.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
We appreciate that.
Second motion.
And you can go somewhere else if you need to be excused, I think. Is that right? Did you have to go to work somewhere?
Maybe he wants to
I
stick
thought you
around
wanted
for
to.
barbecue.
Are you staying for
Yeah,
lunch or do you need to go? Because that's
Read-
fine.
read them, so we're good.
Okay, just making sure. Yes.
With that information, I'd like to make the motion that we move 208 off of this summer's schedule.
Thank you for that. Is there discussion?
And if I may. I think one of the things when I spoke with Levi about 208 that he brought up that I think was very notable is that we are at hard pan on that. So basically that means we are basically at the original lake basin. So I would probably concur based on that information that it would probably make sense to do that more economically, more efficiently by taking, the excavator out there in kind of the off season and just kind of going at it for a few days. So with that, I would concur with the movement of 208.
Thank you. Any other board members care to weigh in?
That assumes we're going to be drawing down the lake. Just want to make that
Correct. We have a motion on the table to,
You don't have a second.
I don't know, but I'm getting ready to ask for it. It's been moved that we take Zone 208 off of the first priority list with the new information that we've had gathered. Can I have a second?
I second it.
All those in favor of taking 208 off first priority, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries. Thank you, Levi. Thanks, Adam.
Does this push number 2 then into priority? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the John Young Road area.
Okay. What's the estimate of time for that, Levi? Do you have any, I mean, you kind of know how long that area will take?
What's that?
The John Young area then?
To be honest with you, I don't think we went over and looked at that.
Okay, I'm just curious, in case somebody asked me.
I have a question about that. Which way from John Young Road are you going? Is it towards the dam or away from the dam?
We'll be starting, I believe the plan is to start towards the dam and then work our way back. All right, there's no further discussion on that. We have a professional services agreement with Indiana University for our water testing. Melissa came out and already gave her annual report. The contract we're hoping to have when she gave her report, took a little bit to get from IU. It's for a total of $8,089. That is for a 2-year term. So it's $4,045 per year. So that'll cover this year and next year, and then we'll have to revisit the contract. It is a little bit lower than it has been in the past. We used to have some computer software in there that we got from them that was really never utilized. So we tried to weed out the areas to try to get the cost down a little bit. So I guess I'm seeking a motion to approve the professional services agreement with the Indiana University for the water testing at Lake Lemon for a 2-year contract in the amount of $8,089.
So moved.
I second.
How does that cost compare with what we paid in the past?
It's lower.
It's lower?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's mostly because they took off GIS software and
Yeah.
stuff that we never used in the past.
Yeah.
So I guess we just have.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the professional services agreement with IU water testing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion carries.
We'll pass that down so the chairman can sign that. The freeholder survey poll, since we've had to extend it a couple times, the final results will come at the next month's meeting. I do have a few preliminary results. It's a pretty brief report that we got from them. We had a 50% overall response rate, which I'm actually pretty happy about. I didn't think we'd get 50% of the freeholders to respond. So that's a pretty good representation. It seems everybody's in favor. Really all we have down is a drawdown and agreeing with the amount of dredging. It seems like people think the dredging is sufficient, but we need to up it. We had a score of 3 out of 7, with 1 being dredging insufficient, 7 being sufficient. So everybody agrees that we need to up the amount of dredging slightly. Drawdown. It seems the majority of the lake, at least of the respondents, are in favor of a drawdown, and they got to vote on how much to draw down. 31% said a 4-foot drawdown is enough to protect their docks and try to get the results and benefits from the drawdown that we want to see. Everybody agrees that the drawdown should happen every year. For ranking of which was most important, the freeholders, water quality is ranked number 1, and keeping costs low are ranked number 2. So I'd like to see that. How did everybody here have a chance to take the survey?
How was the mailing list as far as people calling up and saying that they did or didn't get their card?
Seems like
We
there's a
had
lot of confusion.
it was a lot of confusion. We had quite a few people call in and request to get the phone number to get the code. So we need to update our databases. We gave Kate a copy of the database addresses that we have, and then a copy of the auditors. After this report, we're going to give a full list back from her that we have compiled for all the updated addresses for people. There's been a lot of new turnover. We haven't got the house and the new names yet. And then there seems to be some other discrepancies between the auditors. So this was a pretty eye-opening situation, and it's going to give us the knowledge to update our database and hopefully prevent this from happening again in the future and be able to reach everybody on a more complete level. So that's where we're at. Any questions about the freeholder survey? It is closed now. The people from the Epley Institute will be out here in July to give a full report. It should be a pretty snazzy presentation. So looking forward to that and seeing what everybody thinks.
Question.
Yes.
When they do make their report, rather than just hear an interpretation of the report from them, could we actually look at the finalized survey results?
Absolutely. We'll bring copies to the meeting, and we will just go ahead and we'll email it out to everybody. So we'll try to get everybody's hands so we can view it beforehand and we can come with discussion. So I'm foreseeing that's going to be a pretty big discussion initiator. So yes, we'll get it to everybody.
Will you put that on the website?
Yes, and we'll put it on the website. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fireworks update. The fireworks will be held on Friday the 3rd at dusk with a rain date of Saturday the 4th. So it's where the fireworks are. Yes.
Did you do a mail out on the fireworks asking for donations?
We do, and that should be in the mail now. The printers have printed it all off and they have the addresses. So it should, if it hasn't been received yet, it should be in the mail and should be by the beginning of next week. It should be out, but it's been to the printers along with everything, and they're sending it out. So
To the correct address.
To the correct address.
That's not allowing very much time here for responses, that is.
Yeah, well, historically we get a lot on the night of the fireworks too, and if it's a good show and you feel like upping your donations afterwards, we'll accept them. It was a little bit later. I honestly had been in a rush and I hadn't thought about it, and then once I was brought to my attention from the freeholder, we jumped on and got it out of there. So it was a little bit later than I'd like to get it out. In the future, we'll try to make sure to get it out further in advance.
Will there be a boat parade this year?
There is going to be a boat parade. We're hoping to get some flyers for that by now, but they haven't been dropped off yet. But there is going to be a boat parade. James might know a little bit more of the details on who's running the boat parade.
Boat parade, Amanda Richardson and Gene Schneider, I think, are the main hosts. There's a couple of sponsors. It's scheduled for Saturday the 4th. People are meeting at Cemetery Island. They're going to have prizes for best boat. I think the theme is Margaritaville.
Oh dear.
It's on the website. Check that in your email. I can't tell you the exact time. I think it's maybe 11 or 1 o'clock, something like that. So it's on the website for more information and all the phone numbers.
What's the route for that?
I think it's going to be different this year. My understanding is they did almost a whole lap of the lake last year and it kind of took too long. So I think they're going to meet there, give out the awards, and then they're going to kind of do a...
Because I never saw them go past my house.
I think you were almost at the end. So.
That's what I
I think I'm up still.
Yeah, we'll keep you going with the aquatic vegetation update.
We had our Tier 2 survey on Monday. Nate Long was out from Aquatic Control. We surveyed the whole lake. It's actually probably the latest we've done a Tier 2 survey. Frequently, we've already treated, kind of near Memorial Day weekend. The weeds just haven't been that bad this year, which is always a good thing. Could be from all the rain. A little bit of turbidity in the water has kind of delayed their growing season. So overall, things look good. We're treating a lot of milfoil in the first round. Primarily going to use all Renovate. Renovate is a chemical that's a little bit more effective on certain species, especially milfoil. It can guarantee sometimes up to a 1.5 to 2 year kill. So we try and prefer to use that if we can. There are a lot of emergents out there that are bad, especially in some of the channels. The heart shape, they have a yellow flower. Lotus is circular shape with a white flower. Those emergents have to be pretty much fully blossomed in order for the treatments to take effect. So probably in about 3 weeks, we will be come back out for a second treatment and treating those. We will have our first treatment coming Tuesday. Maps will go out on Monday. It'll probably be about $10,000 to $12,000 treatment. I'm trying to be a little tight this year. Leave some areas for now, because treating small areas is really not effective, and sometimes we've ended up treating areas twice on our own dime. So trying to cut the budget back a little bit and save some money this year, and we'll see how it goes. I think we've got a good start. So, Alan?
Will water depth have anything to do with it? Because Tuesday is going to be at least probably 4 feet over normal.
It may. That's why it's nice to have good applicators. They base their chemicals on a lot of the water quality and all that. If it's too high, and Nate doesn't want to do it, or I don't feel comfortable, we'll just delay it.
Thank you.
Concludes the manager's report. Oh, Ron, sorry. No, it doesn't. Yes, Ron, I'm sorry.
Adam,
Yes.
on your RFP, your schedule of events, you had on there that the RFP closes, and I think you stated June 17th at 5 o'clock, and you received 1 bid, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then for the 18th, a complete initial evaluation, you guys did that in an executive session?
That's correct.
And who all was at that executive session?
All the board members and then our staff.
The staff being?
Meaning Levi and James.
Okay, and then the next step on that is the final award notification, which is today.
Yes, the award notification, but we have questions on the barge and we need to negotiate the contract. We didn't have multiple bids come in. There wasn't a design that immediately said, let's do this, no questions asked. So we'll have to talk to Shannon and then it will come.
You said you had multiple bids?
No, we did not have multiple bids, so we didn't have one that just jumped out and said, buy this now, and we want to talk to Shannon. So we're gonna have to discuss that with him and negotiate the contract and go over the design.
Okay, because on your statement of work, you've got the purpose of the request for proposal is to invite prospective vendors, submit a proposal to design, build, deliver, and complete mechanical barge system to Lake London. The RFP provides vendors with relevant information in terms and conditions to offer the equipment for sale. Did those bids meet that spec?
We had the bid that came in, we had a brief verbal description at a 40 by 20 by 5 foot description, 30,000 pound excavator, 30,000 pound bucket, 30 cubic yard hopper. There was no drawings, no designs, it was just a brief verbal description of it. I've called them up before, there's tweaking that's gonna have to be done with the amount of sediment that can be on it, where an excavator is sitting at. It just wasn't ready to move forward. These bids, it states in there, are good for 60 days. And so we will be allowed to talk with Shannon, the guy who submitted a proposal, and we'll be able to hash out what we wanna see in the barge, what we didn't like about the design, what we did like about the design, and we'll be able to come back with a contract, assuming we pursue that direction.
So that is not what the award notification is? I mean, and then you do your negotiations?
We're not gonna sign anything until we get into a contract. We have to talk with Shannon, and we're gonna have to work out I'm not gonna sign a bid or proposal for something that we didn't decide to follow right off the bat. So we're gonna have to talk with him, design, and then at the next meeting.
That's not what your RFP says.
I'm not gonna sign a contract or request a proposal on something that we've had debates over and that people in there had qualms with.
What people have qualms with?
We had an executive session, we talked about it, the board's not gonna jump into a contract. We'll negotiate with them and go over the design of the barge, and then we will come back once we're happy with it.
Okay, but what I'm asking is what are the issues? Where did he not?
If I may interject, Adam, I think the main concern right now is we have some questions in the design of whether it's going to be able to do what it's projected to do. And I know especially Levi did have some safety concerns in the way the design was laid out. So we just have to investigate to make sure that the operation is going to be able to complete its task. In addition, that it will be a safe operating platform for our employees. So I think we are going to do some investigation. I think there is a barge out there that's similar that we're going to go review and take a look at and just try to make sure that we're in good shape there.
Okay.
Vince.
What were some of the safety issues?
The barge design that came in, the exact design was a design that we went to Poseidon Boat Works, Madison Boat Works, and talked to our previous barge designer, and they said they would not build something like that because there's no room for safety. So that was our concern. So we need to alleviate those concerns.
Hang on, I still have the floor, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were finished.
You was at Madison Barge with me
Yes.
back in February. And what did Max say would be the best size barge for us to go with? Now, you just stated,
He said
he
that's
said it's a bad design, but what did he say when we was there?
Well, the 20 by 40 are their standard issue
And
sizes.
that's what he recommended.
Yes, but when I talked to him we're not gonna go with this design that we currently have.
Still have some
We'll
questions.
negotiate with them, and we'll come back with a contract once we feel confident in the
Okay, hang
design.
on, I still got it, sorry.
I didn't speak, I just raised my hand.
I know.
I
You're making a statement that a barge operator, not a designer. This designer that you have has barges, he has a company that he runs these barges in. He has designed those, he operates those. So this safety thing, I'm sorry, is Levi a barge designer?
Why is Levi coming into this?
You said that, I'm sorry, he said it. He said Levi.
Yeah, because we've been told that it wasn't a design that would be built by other companies, so we're gonna go look into it. We're gonna go check out his operation.
Did those other companies present a design, an alternative design?
No, they said either go with a smaller excavator or a bigger barge. So we're gonna go check out his barges that he currently has. I know there's one that was built by SRS, and there's the other one that's the same design as the big boy that we have. So we're gonna go talk to his people, see what barges he's actually designed, and move from there.
You have videos and stuff that you can see all this stuff. And
think you sent those to me yesterday. I
The
believe.
RFP has been met.
Okay.
Every part of what you guys asked for was met.
Let me add one other thought, Ron, and that is that Levi's expertise on this, we are taking, Adam and I had a good talk about this yesterday. He obviously has input, but he is not the person that makes the decision, the final decision. So,
We're talking about designing and building a barge.
but
not
since he's our operator, we feel that it's reasonable to listen to him and then move forward with a decision based on the information that we're looking for. I am still confused about, I'm confused about whether or not there is a barge at Heritage Lake that we can take a look at. We were thinking there was, and then I've heard two different things.
I'm videotaping and operating tomorrow on Heritage Lake.
Is that at Heritage?
Not tomorrow, I'm sorry, Monday.
Where is that barge? Is it at Heritage Lake?
Yes.
Because we'd like to go out and see it, actually.
It's not the exact size that you're looking for, it's just another barge.
Okay.
The guy who built, designed, you guys are stalling. Everything was met that you asked for, everything.
Thank you.
Tina has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tina. Yes, ma'am.
Really, I just wanted to say to you that I feel like, I think you're right. I mean, I think we need to talk to the actual person who, designed it, and then make our questions accordingly. So I agree with your plan. If we have 60 days, then that just, that makes sense to me to be able to, follow through with what we say we're going to do. We want to make sure that we get the best thing for our money and that, it's going to fit for us. So, if you say it's good, if the bid is good for 60 days, then that tells me that, okay, well, we've got this time to be able to, work out these tweaks and things that you're talking about, or the questions that everybody has, or if they don't have, or, if you need to be clear on something, I think that's what we need to do. And I totally agree with that. I do think that, we do need to follow through with, what we're doing here too, and move accordingly, and not try to, delay or wait, or, these kind of things as we've been done.
We're not trying to delay this, but there's a liability issue here. And we need to do our due diligence. We need to make sure that everything has been designed and evaluated before we sign a contract with somebody. I mean, we're paying insurance on the barge and on the operator, and we better know what we're doing before
Well,
we...
so I'm not here to speak on his behalf. I've only met him once.
I know.
I can't say what he does, but I do know that, he is saying that he will build it, put it on the water before we pay one penny, and test it. So I think that's something that, we've been looking for, somebody to be able to do that.
Yeah, he's gonna charge us $40,000 extra for that promise.
But that's what we wanted.
So it charges $250,000 instead of $200,000. I think what we should do is check this out and save ourselves $40,000.
But that's not, Dennis, that's not what the board asked for. We wanted someone else to guarantee.
Dennis, as you remember in our several other ways, we have tried that out many times before. work. And then, I think we need that assurance and guarantee, so what do you pay for that? We don't want to put
It's
something
not
in
right.
the water that we're not experts, we just all said that.
Thanks, Tina. Vince, you got another one?
Well, I
Let's
thought
take one more and then move on.
the barge at Heritage Lake was identical to what we were asking to be built. So the question was, is there one identical? But apparently there isn't. But how close is the barge at Heritage Lake to the size we're
36
looking
by
for?
16.
Pardon me?
Say again?
36 by 16.
The problem is that the Heritage Lake is not Lake Lemon. We're a bigger lake, and the concerns were, is that barge secure enough on our lake with our weather and our winds and because Heritage is not the same size as Lake Lemon. That's just a concern, Ron.
And I've talked with the designer, and there's going to be some tweaking. I've talked with them, and I go, well, we have this size excavator on it and this much cubic yardage. There was concerns about that before, and he goes, well, it's going to be a little bit of, we're going to have to tweak the design. You know, we can move the barge around, we can move the sediment box back, raise up the wall so the weight stayed center. We're not shutting this down. We're going to meet with them. We're going to go over the design. We have a barge builder. Somebody wants to build a barge. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway from here. So we're going to meet with them. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go over it.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I'm saying that you need to award the contract to them, and then you build, and he's willing to work with us and guarantee it, put it on this lake, no cost to us, and going and stealing a design is just ludicrous.
Okay, I think we've covered that ground as
So
best we
you're not
can.
going
Thank
to
you.
award a contract?
No.
To the only one that met the RFP?
Not today. Thanks, Adam, for all your help on this. It's been a heck of a way to start a job. But we're
Yeah,
getting
really.
there. I appreciate your patience. I know it's frustrating. I would love to move on to something more fun, and that is the awards and I'm sorry. One more.
Is there a new due date? Like, are you going to plan it for July? I'm just asking that. I have no idea.
I think
We are
that's
hopeful that we will
To be
be awarding a
determined,
contract
yes.
in July, yes.
Okay, that's all. Because you had the 60 days and I didn't know where that fell in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we come to something a little more fun, awards and recognition, and I just am looking to see, is Kim Mayer in the room? I have not seen her come in. She's we have a tradition at Lake Lemon to recognize outgoing board members, and we have two this year, and Kim Mayer from District 3. Marty, have you seen her?
I haven't seen her today.
Okay. She, I guess what we will do then is invite her to July. I don't want to recognize someone who's not here to.
No, you need to wait.
Okay, we'll wait on that one. And then Tina Thrasher, I know you're here. Would you be comfortable coming up or standing up?
I know I've been hiding,
You're so shy.
I gotta get to my right. Forgive me for using some cheat sheets. I didn't want to forget anything. Now the question is, can I read my writing? All right. Tina from District 7 came onto the board just exactly 1 year after I did. So I kind of feel like we grew up together on this board because we both represent districts that are somewhat similar in size, and they're almost directly across from one another on the lake. So we've had a lot to talk about. Tina served as board treasurer and also continues to serve as the chairman of the dredging study group. She has been a tireless champion for access for everyone around the lake. And she spent many hours doing research to try to continue to enhance our dredging program here at Lake Lemon. In the face of areas difficult to reach, she always said, I'll talk to anybody that has a shovel. And she did. She does her homework and is very diligent. So that's sort of your war cry, I think. I can truly say that I've never seen her lose her temper or raise her voice. She's really a role model in that regard, even in the midst of very difficult conversations. I've never seen anything like it. Tina, on behalf of all of us, thank you for all you've done and continue to do for Lake Lemon. And I hope that you will find a special place for this picture from our own Gene McClarney and his photographic talents in your home.
I have a Gene McClarney photo It's presented to Tina Thrasher in recognition of 4 years of service on the Lake Lemon Conservancy District Board of Directors and tireless leadership of the Dredging Study Group. on this June 20th, 2020.
Some of us from District 7 wanted to present you with another award. And as we sat in Scott's garage and tried to figure out what we wanted to say to you, I think it was Terry who came up with, "We dig you." And we really do dig you. And with that,
Thank you. I truly didn't find anybody with a shovel.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know this was happening. That worked out great.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, there was about 60 reasons why I wanted to become a district rep, and that was all the folks in District 7 and their support, and you know, just to represent. And I hope I did that, you know, with the best I could. That's what I tried to do. And you know, I'll continue to do that with the dredging study group, and you know, bring my ideas. And you know, and I look around this room and I see all this history in here, and it's quite amazing. You know, to see Gene, Barb, and all these other folks that are sitting in here. And we owe a lot to these folks, and these folks are sitting up here as well. You know, it's all volunteer time. You know, we don't get anything out of it. In fact, we get a lot of grief. You know, we get a lot of satisfaction, but we also get, you know, we also get the good with the bad. And you know, just say thank you to these board members, to the ones that are sitting around this room. You know, these are the folks that really work hard and you know, really put in the time. And I really feel blessed to be part of it. So thank you all very much.
Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point.
We're going to have, on behalf of the board and the staff, we're going to have Levi, the most tenured remaining LCD staff, hand a dedication award to Bob. I'm going to say a couple quick words real quick while they're organizing that. I've been here 3 years working for Bob. It's not always been easy working for Bob as well as you can imagine. He lets you know when you're wrong, and you know, he lets you know. You've asked the Gatehouse kids about getting written up for being late, and they've never been late again. But in all seriousness, Bob was a great boss, taught me a lot. He's done a lot for this lake. I'm very appreciative for my 3 years here. We had a lot of fun. I'm going to miss you. And once again, thank you.
I think we got a couple different tokens of appreciation for Bob, so if you come on up and hand these out to Mr. Madden, the institution of the past 2 decades.
Don't be shy, Bob.
It reads, the Lake Lemon Conservancy District and the City of Bloomington Utilities dedicate the Riddle Point Park Equipment Cove to Robert Madden in honor of 19 years of service, tireless dedication to the stewardship of Lake Lemon, playing an instrumental role in the growth and development of the LLCD. This cove will forever be known as Bob's Cove. That's very nice. Was it my turn to talk? Oh, look out.
You want a microphone, Bob?
Oh, I don't need a microphone, no.
Got 2 minutes, Bob.
We don't have a fire hose, so we
God, I haven't had the floor in about 4 months, so God knows how long this will go. Thank you so much, very much. The 19 years we were here, we started, the founding board members, we got this conservancy established in 1995. And I was hired right at the start of 1996 as their first manager. And I can recall our budget that very first year was about $150,000. And we had to borrow money from both Brown and Monroe counties in order to sustain our first year of operation. And the founding board members were just outstanding. And actually, I think the success that we accomplished out here in our 19 years has to do with the board members we had, the people that volunteered their time and their energy and their know-withal to make this place succeed. And so basically what I'd like to talk a little bit about is the previous boards and the people that were here. Now, the original founding board members, there were 7 of them. I'm sorry to say 4 have passed. Larry Ritter, widow Barbara Ritter is here, who stayed on the board after Larry passed away, and Earl Eberly, whose grandson is currently on the board, Lance, and then Bud Howard, who was our first treasurer, and then our last one is Dave Eisen, who's passed, and Marge is here, and his son Jerry is here, and those 4, plus there are 2 actually living board members still here. We have Alan McNabb, who was a founding board member, and Alan was very instrumental in the early going. He actually put together the very first grant that we applied to DNR for, and got the ball rolling as far as the money that we were so lucky to receive over the years. Came to close to about $1.5 million over the years in grant money that we had received, that sort of kick-started this entire operation. And actually, Alan also provided the very first computer we ever had in the office, and back in those days it was dial-up. We had no cable, no internet, all that sort of stuff. And of course, I didn't know how to use the computer, still don't.
Your daughter taught you.
And of course, Gene Clarney, who's still with us, and Gene was instrumental. His role in the early formation was he worked on the district plan, which was a document that in order to get formed, we had to get a district plan written, and him and Don Spielbeller, who was the other founding board member, and Don is not here now. Don left the lake a few years after we got hired, and they worked on the district plan, and that document today is the document that guides this operation and has for the last 19 years. So I'm totally indebted to the founding board members. Their foresight and what they did actually, I think, results are out here right now. Any other former board, if you're a former board member, how about just standing up for a minute? And I'd like to talk a little bit about all you guys. We got Dave, well, I've already talked about you 2. We got Barbara, we got Dave, we got Bruce. Well, we all know about Barbara. Barbara was our first secretary. We didn't have a lake biologist or an assistant back in those days. Anything that had to get typed up or done or filing or anything of that nature, Barbara was involved from the very beginning. She sort of kind of guided those three amigos and was a part of everything that we did and knew, and the success of this lake is vitally important to what Barbara contributed back in those days. Dave headed up our safety committee. He was on the board for 8 years. We had a couple of tough go-arounds early on. We had some accidents on the lake. We had a drowning, and I think a lot of you would appreciate the fact that it was for Dave's efforts. Now that DNR COs are on the lake now, so there you go. Yeah. Hope you appreciate your tickets. And Bruce, who was also on the board for 8 years, Bruce, of course, was a major instrumental person in our environmental committee. Worked on the environmental overlay zone, which we never really did get it finally established, but something I think moving forward this board should probably take a look at. More of a confident Bruce, just lives right down the road from the office, and Bruce would come by whenever I was having a bad day. We'd talk and kind of work things out. Very calming effect on me in the operation, and I'll always appreciate his support in what he did. So thank you guys. I appreciate everything you guys did. And of course, you've got the current board members, and you got three old timers on the board right now. Denny was our treasurer for God knows how many years, I don't know, but Denny was instrumental after Bud stopped doing our books. Dennis took it over and guided us through some really tough times when taxes and stuff was delayed from Brown County, and we were kind of struggling. We had to get a line of credit to operate with and all of that, and Denny gave tons and tons and tons of hours on keeping us straight from a financial standpoint, and we couldn't have succeeded without him. And Denny's the longest serving board member we've had. He'll be finishing up his 16 years, 4 terms on the board in another year, I think. And damn, Danny, you've been here as long as I've been here. Yeah, I know.
16 years is too many.
And John, a former chairman, still on the board. John has been around for about the last 4 or 5 years on the board, and we got some things accomplished when John was here. Was happy that we got to redo the sedimentation bathymetric study. That was important. It was a time of evaluation during John's tenure. We kind of had to look at everything that we had done and try to make sure that what we had done was good. We had to reevaluate it, and one of the things we had to do there, and we also, under John's tenure, we also had to, we got a good start on the dam emergency action plan, which was a goal for mine for years and years and years, which is really an important thing to have. And I understand from the guys that the dam emergency action plan should be completed sometime the latter part of this year. So I'm real pleased about that. And I guess I'll have to finish this up with, got to talk about Marty. Marty was my chairman for 10 years, and Marty, we became friends. We took some vacations together, and Marty, pretty bright guy. He's a pretty bright guy, and he's a big thinker. He always had the lake at his best interest at heart. Many times we'd sit down and we'd talk and talk and talk, and Marty would come up with this idea, that idea, this idea, and I'd say no. But every now and then he came up with a really good idea, and then I kind of jumped on it, and I kind of implemented what he thought. And I think during Marty's stewardship on the board, was probably our greatest 10 years of success that we had. We started the dredging initiative, and we fulfilled a lot of important things. So I don't want to miss any of the rest of you. Mike, I never really had a chance to work with you, and Sue, I only had 1 year with you, and Pam had 4 years with you, and Pam was part of the reevaluation, and Lance has taken over the treasurer's role and has done a splendid job with that, and has done really well. So with that, I just want to say thank you. It was a wonderful career. Very proud of what we accomplished out here and what this place is. And some of you earlier guys that were here back in the day, you know what it was like when we got here in the mid-90s, and it's not the same lake anymore. It's actually a very beautiful reservoir. I was on it the other day, and everything's so green right now and pretty, and the trees look good, and it's just a really wonderful place. And for those of you who don't know, I've actually moved back to the lake. I'm living up in District 7. I'm living up in Chitwood. Now, how's that for irony, huh? You know, and So I'm a resident out here now, and I have a dock. I don't have a boat yet, but I have a dock, and I hope to be around a little bit more than I have been, and maybe I can add something along the way, or give some opinions along the way, and I hope whatever I do will always be for the best of the lake. So with that, I thank you all very much. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure. Just one more thing to say. You know me, I can't shut up. I can't shut up. I gotta recognize my family. In the back of the room is Charlene, the mother of my 3 children. She drove all the way down from Fishers today to be here, and I love her to death. We're divorced, but I still love her. I love her to death. And my oldest, Mandy, she flew in from North Carolina to be here. I think it's a combination Father's Day and this happening. And Mandy works for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and very proud of her and what she's accomplished. My youngest, Mark, standing there with his brand new puppy dog, Breamy. Mark's going to be a senior now at Ball State, and he came down from Muncie for this, and I'm so pleased. And then my middle one, Matthew, he's a lieutenant, stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri right now, in Missouri, and he's stationed there now, and obviously he couldn't get here for today. So they all lived through it all. The long hours, not being home a lot, and I couldn't have succeeded without their support and their love and their trust. So I thank you.
They didn't tell you have to upkeep the cove, did they?
I'm going to use her shovel.
I think we got some more coming for Bob.
Bob, you're not done yet,
I can
Bob.
call Gene McClarney up.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think Bob actually read my speech. In the beginning, the Conservative was formed by 3 men. Larry Ritter, Bud Howard, and Earl Everett, who did all the legwork, contracting the city, the state, the water company, the DNR, and all the legal aspects. They represented their 3 districts. The other 4 districts, of course, were represented by Bill Spillebeller, myself, and Al McNair. We unfortunately lost Larry, Bud, Dave, Harold. I'm the oldest yet, too. We formed a search committee to find a lake manager. We had the qualifications that we might need to do the job. After several, we interviewed candidates we interviewed. One meeting with Dave Eisen said he knew a guy that worked for the in-house parks department and had some of the qualifications we needed. Bob Madden came to the meeting and represented himself very well. We then verified all of his statements and voted to hire him. As some of you know, we used to have the meetings at Eisen's old marina on the South Shore. Some of the old timers didn't care for what the concerns were doing, taxes and so forth. They would attend the meeting, but they were in the parking lot with guns. We had decided to hold meetings, we had decided to hold meetings at Bloomington CBU. And some of those didn't go too well with the board members. We had some pretty heated discussions to the point of going over the table. But Bob was the voice of reason in those days. Bob did a lot of work, lake work after hours, going to other lakes. There was to try to find out their ideas. It turned out they were more interested in what we were doing. he squeezed out all the grant monies he could possibly get until he said, no more. He had to settle disputes around here on shoreline properties, lines, dock lines between neighbors, and all those kinds of things. As the lake grew in beauty and popularity, I think Bob misses the lake very much because he has a love for the lake like watching a child grow to a young adult. I want to thank Bob and the Conservancy for purchasing my pictures to give directors when they retire. And I personally want to give Bob money for all of his work and everything he's done for the lake in my personal friendship.
Oh, man, that's great. Of all these photos we've ever given out to everybody, this one's the best, without a doubt. It's an eagle in flight getting ready to land on a log right through some lily pads, and my God, the colors in that. That's outstanding. Thank you, Gene.
I believe there were some others that wanted to say a few words, or anybody?
Yeah,
Marge?
I had a big speech prepared, but I'm not gonna do it, he just got it all.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to move up here. Someone told me never make remarks with your back to people. They don't. So I'll move up here. Bob Madden has known the Heisen family for, what, 30 years?
Long time, Marge.
38. Those of you who don't know me, it's because I'm very old. But however, for a while, we were very active. I lived too in the East End, in the Chipwood edition, which has a reputation of goodwill, I like to say. And I also want to share, you know, sometimes being a lake manager is not about the people, the houses, their concerns. Jerry got a call, that's my son, who had the boat on the lake, from Bob and said, I need your help. Jerry said, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to rescue a dog. Now, they went down to the dam. Bob and Jerry rescued a dog that had perished in this horrible weather on this dam. Picked him up, put him in the boat, and then proceeded to take him up to Dale McClung's house and help Dale bury him while he's standing there crying. Now, come on, folks, this is well beyond the call of duty, but these are the things you don't hear. You know, but yet it's so important in my book for the integrity of the lake. Okay, Pam told me to make this short. But if I could find something funny, well, some of them we have to put the next reading on. But we have one incident that I think is priceless. One of the astute residents of Chilwood decided to turn that channel green. And, you know, so to St. Patrick's Day. Well, it turned it green, but not the bright green you would expect to see when they do it at the canal and everything. But it definitely altered the look of the channels. Some of you are pretty, you remember. Well, with this, another resident called Bob and said, we've got a major problem on this channel. You have got to come down and test the water. I don't know if any rest remember. So his first stop was at our house. So we went out and drew a sample, brought it in, put it on the picnic table, our table, put a cap on it, and they said, okay, I gotta do 2 more sides. So I think Jerry went with him, I don't remember. So there's a hot. So he unscrewed the cap, dumped out some and filled it full of scotch. Yeah, Bob had no idea he had done this. Yeah, he never brought the report back to David to see how the water tested. I'm inclined to think if you can find more of this, you can all retire. Well, the story of the scotch on the lake. But I do want to say one thing, Bob. You've left this lake a better place than what it was when you found it. or when they found you. It really is. And all of us need to realize that perfect, no, but it never will be. But it's still a better place. And let me say one more thing. Once you adjust, retirement's the best job ever had.
I don't have my back to anybody either. All I can say about Bob is when he first came to the lake, he was very, very green, didn't know much about the lake and lake life and so on. And he had, at the beginning, 3 bosses that were really very, they were older, they were set in their ways, and you know, you can only do a job a certain way. So one day, and that was Earl, Bud, and Larry. So one day, there have been some complaints, gee, Bob doesn't do this, and the place looks awful, and it's run down, and so on. So Larry said, well, okay, I'll take care of this. At 7 o'clock in the morning, he showed up at the Conservancy office and told Bob, we are going to get to work. We're going to clean this place up, and they spent the whole day cutting down shrubbery and stuff that didn't look good and cleaned it up and what have you. And then also, Bud Howard kept opening Bob's mail. And Bob was really incensed about it. He said, you know, it's a federal offense, it's this, it's that, and another thing. And Bud said, pardon my French, I'll do anything I damn well please. And so Bob had to be talked out of quitting because he and Bud were just like oil and water. And then Earl, the one thing about Earl was having the flag up at a certain hour and taking it down, the American flag. And Bob just couldn't see, you know, having to be so constrained to a certain time and what have you. So he had a lot of adjusting to do, but he, you know, has done a fabulous job for Lake Lane. And we wouldn't be where we are today if it hadn't been for Dave Bison suggesting to the board to take a look at Bob and all Bob's work. And Bob really put in hours 24/7. He took very little personal time and what have you. And he's made our lake the way it is, as good as it is today.
Thank you.
I didn't know Bob except for one incident beginning a long time ago on the lake when he was breaking in a new biologist, and we were skating about not half an hour before the sun was going down, and it was cloudy and kind of raining, so his biologist got a little over enthusiastic and pulled us over for skiing after dark. I go, excuse me, you know, Bob, just let things go and let the guy handle it, which he didn't do very well. So at that time, I was thinking, whoa, this manager guy, I don't know, I'm not too sure about this guy at all. And then when I got on the board, that all changed. And the main issue with Bob as far as being manager is the fact he never looked at it as a job. It was a love for the lake. It was a chance to do something special, and he always looked at it that way. Whether it was dealing with the misinformed people who were banging on his door about their problems, or to situations like in 08, for instance, or other issues in the past, which I didn't know about. But all I know is that at some meetings they had to have a deputy there to solve some of the emotional issues. But through all that, what I appreciate about Bob is the fact that he handled things in a very positive manner, always looking for the bright side. And I just think that's pretty neat for this, especially this job. And besides that, he's become a pretty good friend of mine, so thanks.
I've been started out the little kid that was growing up down the street. You know, basically when you kind of were hired in, you know, as the manager, was probably one of the kids, you know, causing a little bit of trouble on the lake at that time as well. And Barb, I have no idea what you're talking about with Earl and the American flag. You know, I was the kid that had to try to run out on our property to make sure it got down in a timely fashion. But, you know, I think the main thing growing up on Lake Lemon, going back the years, the problems we have now are nothing compared to what we had before. And I remember growing up, and if you wanted to swim in the lake, you literally had to go out in the buoy line because the weeds along the shoreline were so bad. And I remember a time basically that you couldn't even take a boat over in the East Bay because it was completely weed covered. You know, you go about 200 feet forward and then you have to go about 100 feet back to get all the weeds out of your prop so that you could continue moving forward. And so I think that's just a sign of a great leader. You know, somebody that's been able to get over 500 freeholders together toward the common goal of improving the lake, and he's definitely left the lake 100 times better than what he inherited. So Bob, I know my family's enjoyed the lake. I know I'm currently enjoying the lake, and I know I now have a son that's a joy of the lake. And again, I thank you for preserving that going forward. Thank you.
Has everybody had an opportunity that would like one? We've gotten our founding folks. Anybody else is welcome.
I would like to say one thing about Bob, and that is, he has really walked a fine line. Nobody realizes just how fine that line is. Yes. And all of us have different opinions, dredging, this, that, and other things. Bob always stayed right in the middle. He could talk to both sides comfortably. We didn't always agree with his decisions or the board's decisions, but he was always there, a steady guy. And I think that the old Confucius saying, choose a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, applies to Bob.
Thank you all for your kind thoughts, and we will have a celebratory lunch after. Bob's favorite lunch, Adam reminded, or James reminded me.
Brownies, right?
Brownies and round pork. We just have a couple more things to check off. This is the time that we open to public comment or questions. If you need a mic, please use one. If you don't think you do, please stand and be recognized. Gail. Hi.
I'm Gail Tala. I have property in 3 different districts, mainly District 5, District 7, District 3, my family property. My district leader, the fearless Denny, pointed something out to me and it got me thinking, and I've mentioned it to Adam, and I just want to bring it up now. This is in District 5. Coming off of my properties and in my neighborhood, there are 3 creeks running into the lake. One on the east side of my property is okay. The one on the immediate west side of my house is a steep ravine coming way back from the almost mountain behind me that rushes in and fills in the what we call the porthole channel that we recently dug out. And then there's the next one over, comes into where Denny and I have property on the east end of the short causeway. In looking at those 2 second ones, I think that it would be a good idea to put a small weir, is that the right word? Mm-hmm. Weir on the opposite side of the road from the lake in those steep areas that would prevent a lot of the erosion from coming in. Denny had the idea to put it on the lake side, but I think it would be better and work better on the other side of the street. So I just want to get that somewhere in the thinking, as I mentioned to Adam, that those two creeks coming in, that if you look behind it, a huge mountain behind me brings so much filling in the lake and save a lot of dredging.
Thank you for that. Yes, Vince.
The silt traps that we put in on the South Shore, right across from Solomon Harbor, they've recently been dug out, and so the dirt is still sitting there. So if you drive by and you look out in that field, that is dirt that we saved from going into the lake.
I saw some video of that. It was pretty cool.
Well, this on the one side she was talking about, that's where they put in the new cul-de-sac. And if you watch that stuff coming in during this rainstorm, it's pretty much mud. I mean, I don't think it'll take 10 years to fill in that corner. I've tried to get the neighbors together to see if we can do something, and I haven't actually succeeded with that yet. But I think something needs to be done. There's going to be another area that's just silted in, the whole lake's silting in, so.
Is that concern something that could be added on the website to engender his neighbors, perhaps another way of being contacted or notified about this? Is that something that we can, I don't know, I mean, is there an option on the website, you know, to put like concerns of the residents and maybe disseminate that information?
Bitches, gripes, and complaints?
Yeah.
Tina,
something like that.
is that an answer to this?
Well, part of the dredging study group, Gail, just so you know, that we are looking at several of those types of areas that you're talking about, and trying to come up with different ways to put in other weir systems. And during the last presentation, or summary of our presentation, which either be next month or August, of the dredging study group summary, we plan to have some video too of some of the things that we've done and some of the things that are working, and to share with the board. So I just wanted to clarify that we are aware of other areas, and we're aware of other areas around the lake that we think that we can do something about. And again, it's all about proactive part.
Yeah, we need to tell people about it, but we also need to be able to say, we need your help, we need your financial support, sometimes people are not real bright about getting the word, like, okay, this is awesome, but what can you do to help?
In the two areas that we are will be showing, it's all community done.
Right.
There's no lake monies in this.
No, I know, and we need to get more of that involved in these areas, get the residents.
So that'll be included in your presentation? Okay, cool, that's good. Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
We live at the end of John Lynn Road, and the buoys that mark the slow zone, I guess is the way, have all disappeared, and are they going to be replaced?
We're gonna modify that area. I think we'll reprobe it and try and, I think they probably have a little bit too far. I think we have fairly safe water, kind of where the buoys are at, so it's been kind of on our list in the office. We got new stuff for buoys, so we'll reconfigure that and make it a little bit more clear on the area that needs to be moved on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Barb Lewis, District 7, and I had talked last year at this meeting about doing something about playground equipment here at the lake, and I have contacted the Boy Scouts of America, and I have some contact information where I think maybe we can get some boys to do their Eagle projects.
Oh, cool.
That I would be willing to help be part of that, but I think that we really need to do something to be more attractive and more safe for our residents. So if the board would discuss that, and when they decide they want to do it, I've got the contact information, I'll be glad to share it with you. Okay.
Thank you.
Great, that's awesome. Anyone else? Have we answered your questions? And one more.
I heard a comment a couple minutes ago about maybe doing our dirty laundry, as I would call it, on the website. I think we all have an economic interest in this lake, and I would encourage us not to put the negatives out on the email or the website, because if I were a future home buyer, I don't want to see if you have a website, and I don't want to see your bitching, complaining, whatever. So whether you want to have a freeholder website, that you have a code number, I don't care how we do it, but personally, I would not like to see it on the beautiful site that someone here's created. Thank you.
Good point, sir.
And we have talked in the past about creating a forum for the residents to go to and have discussions, and I think that's worth pursuing again. So we have a centralized location where our office can check it, and anybody else can log in.
Just needs a password.
All right. The next order of business is new business. I don't know that we have any other than to let you know that the next meeting, we're going to be here again July 18th, 10 o'clock. Maybe it will be a prettier day, but at least we aren't having a monsoon. So,
Madam Chair, before we adjourn, the RFP does state that the final award notification was to be today, and as we have in the past, I just want to make sure that the board gives Adam full control to change that in the RFP, that if we do award a final approval, that could come in the July meeting or maybe even sooner. But that date, that June 20th date can be altered. I don't need a motion, I just want to make sure that's...
Okay. Everybody on board with that? Okay, great. With that, I would take a motion to adjourn so we can have lunch. I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. I'm gonna take Tina's